Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, we are taking a look at my brand new set of wheels that I received from the company Yishun, however you pronounce it. You guys have told me so many different ways to pronounce the name Yishun that I don't even know how to properly pronounce the name. So in this video, we're going to talk about these wheels that you see right behind me, because these wheels are pretty special and unique in their design. And I will say that they do look a bit familiar to some of the popular brands that you probably have seen in the cycling world. So we're gonna go over the specs, the details, the weight of these wheels, and then we're gonna take these wheels out on the road so I can give you my first impressions on these wheels, because I do wanna see whether or not this design actually does have some benefits in the crosswinds. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so like I mentioned in the introductory of this video, guys, these wheels that you see right here is from the China company in Xiamen called Yishun. Originally when I did my first initial impressions on this frame that you see here, which is the R086D frame set, I paid for this frame full price with my own money. After they seen that video, the company reached out to me. They sent me an email and said, hey, we really like your video. Is there anything you need from us? If there's any way that we can sort of work together. So I recommended that they send me out a set of their wheels because even though they are a factory frame builder, they are also one of the many factories and brands in Xiamen that also does custom wheels as well. So this is one of their new designs that I seen on their website. So I told them in exchange for just a marginal discount, would they be willing to send me out these wheels? And they said, yeah. So I ordered the wheels. They arrived to my door from Xiamen to Chicago in about 5 or 6 calendar days via FedEx. FedEx was like $100, but it came really quickly. Quick side note, the retail on these wheels for the public is going to be about $535, $540 USD, plus whatever the shipping costs are going to be, is probably somewhere between $80 to $100. So basically you're looking at about $650 for this wheel set. And in my opinion, so far, based on the specs of these wheels, this is a pretty good deal, and this is going to end up being, I would say, maybe $100 to $400 cheaper than some of the other brands coming out of China that are offering similar specs. So let's go ahead and talk about the specs of these wheels because they are, you know, they're pretty good. So first and foremost, let's talk about this design that you see right here. So this is sort of their Aero fin, sort of, you know, undulating style. So basically what you have is you have at the deepest part, you have about 50 millimeters, and then at the most shallow part, it's about 45. And so this sort of undulating whale fin design is supposed to offer, of course, aerodynamic benefits, as well as offer up some crosswind stabilities. And that's one of the things we're going to check today, because we're going to be having about 15 to 16 mile per hour crosswinds on our ride today. Now, regarding the spokes, now these are pillar wing 20 spokes, similar to the CX Ray spokes. The external width on these is 30 or 31 millimeters, which is pretty wide. And then the internal width on these is 23 millimeters wide, which is crazy for a road wheel. Alrighty, jabronis, it's time to weigh out the wheels from Yishun. I still don't know how to pronounce it because you guys give me like 5 different ways on how to pronounce Yishun, so I don't know. But before we do, huge shout out to my man Teddy Pendergrass, coming all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with such classic songs as Turn On the Lights, Turn On the Lights, and Light a Candle. All right, now first we're going to do the rear wheel. All right. The rear wheel is 811 grams. You guys see that right there. Now, again, for the specs for these are 50 millimeters in depth. External width is like 30 or 31 millimeters. And the internal width is 23 millimeters internal. Pillar wing 20 steel spokes, 36 tooth ratchet system. And the wheels did come without tubeless rim tape installed. So 811 grams. All right, and then we'll do the front wheel. The front wheel is 660 grams. You probably can't see that, but 660 grams, which gives us a grand total for the front and rear wheel, 1,471 grams. So let's continue. Now, because the internal width on these wheels are so wide at 23 millimeters, which I really have been prefacing these last couple of months, that basically balloons these set of Continental GP5000 28C tires to about 30 millimeters. And it's fantastic. This is the same internal width on my Magine Ultra wheels as well. And having wheels that balloon out to 30 millimeters, it is chef's kisses. It's so comfortable, and it also allows me to run ever so slightly tire pressure versus running wheels with either 19 or 21 millimeters internal. So with these wheels, I'm basically running them at about 73, 74 PSI versus my usual 75 to 77 PSI. Some of the other tidbits on these wheels is they do come with the now ever so popular in Chinese wheels. It's the 36 tooth ratchet design system. It's basically something similar to the original design of the DT Swiss wheels, which I like. Now, some of the other quirks with this wheels, pardon me, we got freaking airplane coming, but because these wheels were sent to me basically to test and to review, they did not come with extra spokes, nor did they come with rim tape or even having the rim tape installed. So that is something that I had to do myself. Some of the other details with these wheels is they come with Enduro bearings. Now, of course, for ceramic bearings, you wouldn't expect them at this price point of $535. But the good thing with Enduro bearings is they should last a long time. They should be very hard wearing. And even though they may not spin as well as ceramic bearings, I do appreciate the fact that they've thought about this, and these should last you for a very, very long time. One final detail that I do like about these wheels is the design of the hub. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this pretty closely, but basically the design of this hub basically prevents the spokes from, if they ever decide to detension, there's basically no way for these wheels to come flying out of the hub. Alrighty, now thankfully I did have some spare tubeless rim tape lying around, so I was able to go ahead and tape up the new Yishun wheels because they did not provide that with me. Now, I get it that they were sending these out to me to test and to review. So I don't expect that if you as a paying customer were to order these wheels that they would not provide this for you, or at least have them done at the factory. But before we go ahead and get these out on the road, we do of course need to remove my Elite Drive 65D wheels. Now I am going to be using the same TPU inner tubes, the same 28C Continental GP5000 tires, as well as of course the same rotors, because I want to see if I can actually feel any sort of tangible differences regarding ride quality once I swap in these new Yishun wheels. So let's go ahead and swap in the new wheels, and then we'll take this out on the road. Free hub sound tests on these Yishun 50 deep wheels with the 36 tooth ratchet hub. Let's continue. Now, my prediction with these wheels versus the wheels I was using before, which is my Elite Drive 65D wheels, is I'm expecting a couple of things. One is I'm expecting to ride to be a lot more comfortable because, number one, we are using steel spokes rather than carbon spokes. We have a wider internal width, which means I can run slightly lower PSI. And because these wheels are not as deep as the 65 millimeter depth Elite wheels, that should offer just a little bit more flex overall. And so those three characteristics should offer a very comfortable ride. But the only way we're gonna know whether or not, they're still gonna be stiff enough out of the saddle for sprinting is that we go ahead and take this out on the road. So let's continue. Alrighty, we are taking a ride on these brand new Yishun 50 millimeter wheels with, of course, the whale fin design. So first and foremost, let's talk about the obvious elephant in the room. Are these wheels a lot more stable in the crosswind? And I'm going to answer that by saying probably. Now, are these wheels more stable in the crosswinds just because they're more shallow? Of course they are. So they're going to be a lot more stable versus, say, like a 65 millimeter depth wheel like an Elite Drive wheel. But I do believe that, I think that these wheels are more stable in the crosswind. Today I'm out on the lakefront, as you guys can see over there, and we are having some crazy gusts of wind coming directly out of the west, like 20-25 miles an hour, all crosswinds this whole entire ride. And these wheels feel very comfortable in the crosswind. Probably the most comfortable wheel that I've tested so far in the crosswind. Now granted, you know, this is the first ride, so I don't want to make any crazy claims, but yeah, so far these wheels have been very comfortable and stable in the crosswind. Some of the things I really like about these wheels is they are very comfortable, very, very comfortable. And based on my predictions that I made earlier on in this video, I was absolutely right. Because of the steel spokes, because of the wider internal width at 23 millimeters, all these things make this ride very comfortable. These wheels remind me of the Yolio C Pro wheels that I tested and been using for the last couple of months, and I would say that these wheels do remind me a lot of those, and it makes sense because they do offer up similar specs. You have the steel spokes, you have the similar hub design, all these things, 50 millimeter depth wheels as well, but these are basically half the price. So for basically half the price, you are getting a similar wheel that not only is lighter than, for example, those Yolio wheels, but they also offer a wider internal width, which means that you can run a lower PSI, and that makes the ride just a little bit more comfortable. So yeah, so far the goods on these guys is they're very comfortable. They're great in the crosswinds, especially with gusts that we've been getting today, and they're pretty light for what they are. Now moving on to the cons of these wheels. Now when it comes out to the cons, it really basically depends on what your preference is. Now because these wheels are so comfortable, in fact, they're some of the most comfortable wheels, again, first impressions, but these are some of the most comfortable wheels that I have used so far on this channel. They just handle rough roads very well, and like I said, you know, they handle the crosswinds very well. Unfortunately, having a wheel that's this comfortable, it's going to come with the setbacks of not having the most sort of great road feel. It's not going to be extremely stiff as say like a Windspace Hyper or an Elite Drive wheel. Again, I mean, this wheel is half the price of that, but having a wheel that's this quote-unquote compliant over rough pavement and just really soaks up bumps extremely well, it's not going to make for the pinnacle of stiff wheels. And I've noticed that when I'm out of the saddle going up some mini hills, or even if I'm just going to sprint. Now again, these differences are very, very minor, but you do notice them, especially for me coming with a stiffer wheel like an Elite Drive or a Windspace. And again, some of the stiffness of those is because one, they come with carbon spokes, and because they are a deeper depth wheel, those just simply by design are going to be much stiffer. But for me, for the money, for $535, it's really hard to argue this wheel. You're getting a wheel that's going to be very versatile. The internal width means you can run it on a gravel bike, you can use it for cyclocross, and if you are using it for a road tire like I am myself, that means you are getting a ride that, man, you're getting a ride that's very comfortable. It's going to soak up bumps, and I think because using these wheels with my Yishun frame that I've been doing now, I've been using my Yishun 086D bike now for about 1,000 kilometers, and I think that this wheels paired with this frame, I think it just helps take off a little bit of some of the harshness and edge that that bike has, or this bike has, I should say, because obviously that bike is intended for sort of racing, as they would say. And I think this wheel set pairs well with that frame set for everyday comfort. If you are planning to use this frame for endurance rides, and if you live where I live, where the roads are basically crap all year round, I think this combo of wheels with the TPU inner tubes and with the optimal tire pressure, it's going to be very comfortable, not harsh at all. And I think that losing a little bit of stiffness, say maybe, you know, 8 out of 10 versus 10 out of 10 for stiffness, to me, I think that is a very good trade-off, especially at this price point. Alrighty, now speaking of this frame, like I said, I have now ridden this bike for about 1,000 kilometers, 600 miles or so, and truthfully, I really only have positive things to say about this frame. Of course, I will do a separate official review on this frame set as well as this wheels paired together, but so far as is this bike, guys, I mean, for $750, fantastic deal. And even if, and I'm sure this is going to happen because a lot of these Chinese brands do this, you have a YouTuber like myself, they will do a review on it, it'll become popular, and then they'll jack the price up. So if you guys plan on doing this, shame on you. But even if they do decide to increase the price, I do think that so far this bike is a tremendous value for what it is. But I will have a follow-up video breaking down all the things I really like about this bike. So that is going to wrap up today's video, guys. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.